So we'll take a moment again to just bring ourselves into this space, into the environment, invoking the presence of grace, the blessings. Using this time we are together to ponder over all that which has happened in our lives. Also to contemplate how we go further, how we move on, how we incorporated all of that which we have learned, which we have received, how we have benefited, and where we are today in October of 2021. When we think of 2000 and the possible issues of changing from 19 to 20, and here we are 21 years later, all of us doing well, even during this pandemic, alive, breathing, meditating, and to be grateful for the breath, because that is the life force, the prana, which allows us to breathe in, take in that life force, allows everything in our body to move, to circulate, all of the various functionings of this physical body. Often we are taught in this modern society to be grateful, to express and experience gratitude. Our sages tell us that each morning that I wake up is another wonderful day because I didn't die in my sleep. Because when we go to sleep, we set the alarm. We tell ourselves, I'm going to wake up in the morning. But every so often, it so happens, we know people in our lives who went to sleep, and that was it. So, when we wake up each day, each morning, before we even step out of bed, to even think of the possibility of that day and what we want, what we can, what we will do with that day. The mind is my own friend. The mind is my own enemy. So to tell my own mind of the possibilities that the master, the scriptures, the teachers have taught, and what we have imbibed into our life from those possibilities. Just driving over here, I remember a very simple and funny story Baba Muktananda would share. 3 friends are traveling together. They don't have much money. And they're all left with, Jim baked us yesterday, a banana bread. Just a small piece of that bread is left. I guess all of you got it, right? I'm not the only one. Just want to make sure because none of you responded to that. So I don't want you to think, Jim, where's my bread? Well, anyway. So there's a small piece left, and the 3 of them go to bed saying, okay, whoever has the best dream will get this piece of bread. So they all wake up the next morning. The priest says his story and how God came to him. And so he said, I should get it. The yogi shared his story and how God was so pleased with his practice of yoga and therefore he should get it. Nasruddin was sitting quietly and they said, why don't we ask him what is his experience? He said, I was fast asleep and the master came to me in the night. Nasruddin, wake up now. He said, I always follow the instructions of the master. I woke up and the master said, eat it now. So Nasruddin said, there's nothing I could do but follow the instruction, So he said, I ate it. So while the other two were still lost in their dream world, and who had the best dream, Nasruddin did what I think that the master, the guru, tells us, do it. And do it now. And so I think often when I think of this story and similar stories, we get so lost in the imagination of our mind and trying to conceptualize and intellectualize and figure out what is it that he means? What is it that he's trying to say? 20 years go by. And then you go, what happened? And then the master is gone, and then you say, wait a moment, what do I do now? So, in my own life, in the old time that I've been in this, because it will be 60 years next year from birth, and to find myself where I find myself. And I ask myself, and I was telling, I think, Javier last night, that why doesn't the human get it? Why is it that the human is so lost in his or her own mental situations? Because when I talk to you about possibility, that very possibility exists for each and every one of us. The choice is one's own. Each one of us, every single day, has to make that choice. It's a beautiful day here in Virginia today. The sun is shining. The temperature is just right. And I simply have to tell myself how wonderful it is. It's already there. But yet, we all know that the mind can take us to a funny place. So our scriptures tell us, you are your own friend, you are your own enemy. Nobody else is responsible for anything but you yourself. So when we think to ourselves, what can I do? I think it is the outlook and the perception. You're all meditators, and you've all been meditating, from what I heard the first night, for plenty of years. Now the question is, how do I make that meditation so it's real for me? It's not what he said, it's not what she said, it's not what they said, it is what I feel. And to me, back in the year 1989, I had to come to this understanding and decision myself. It had been 7 years since Muktananda had left his physical form. Been doing this work by then for 7 years. And the realization dawned, what is the expression of Swami Nityananda? What do I think? What do I feel? What do I experience? What is my take on the teachings? And so then to realize that what the Guru said, God dwells within you as you. He didn't say, my God dwells within you as you. He said, your God dwells within you as you. So which meant that I have to find that God, that divinity, that truth, that energy that is mine. And so often I think that we become so dependent on an external source, as Master Charles would call it, that the source is nowhere else, but the source is within you. You are the source. And so as we meditate, we become dependent on the mantra, or we become dependent on the meditation, or in this case here, the headphones. And we think that that is my source. But really, that is not the source. The source is here within me. These are simply techniques, methods, ways. I have to connect to that. Baba Muktananda, in his book, Secret of the Siddhas, talks about this connection. And how each day, every day, that connection is renewed. So what do I do when I meditate? What do I do when I sit? I renew that connection. So when I wake up in the morning, what I really want to do is, how am I going to take this energy? How am I going to take this presence with me into my life? And I'm sure as you've all traveled through life, you've met friends, you've met family who sometimes look at it and go, you look good today. And they wonder if it's the outfit you're wearing, or if it's the way you've done your hair, or what is it? And you know yourself, it has nothing to do with any of that. It's that presence that you're carrying with you that is attractive to them. But because they have never allowed or indulged themselves to meditate or to connect to that presence within their own being. And I feel and believe over the years that no matter what one says, whether he believes in it or not, every individual is drawn to source, to consciousness, true truth. Baba Muktananda often shared another simple story that a painter paints 2 paintings, is what the king has ordered. One of the most beautiful person and one of the most evil person. So he paints the beautiful person, and it takes him a while to find the evil person. So one day he finds this evil person. So he brings that person. And as he begins to paint, that person has memories and he begins to cry. The painter says, wait a moment. Don't cry, because that evilness in your eyes is going away. And the subject says, I'm crying because I realized that some years ago I was in this very room as the best person. And here it is some years later that you've brought me, the same person, as the evil person. And when I realize the journey that I have gone through from being that to this, that I realize what you thought of me some years ago and what are you thinking of me now. So Muktananda would stress upon company, the effect of company, how all of us are created equal. We are all wonderful beings. But then depending on who we hang out with, that's the path we tread upon. So in my life over the last years, I talk to myself and I tell this to people, you must do this every day as you stand in front of the mirror. And I know Master Charles has done that also here. I've seen the mirror here, not this trip, but previously. Talk to that mirror and have a conversation, because it's you talking to yourself. But somehow I find that we are candid when we talk to the reflection. It's of you, the reflection, and you know as much as the reflection knows. But yet, we talk to the reflection as if, wow. It is similar to what a sage does. He talks to the seer, or what the scriptures call witness or consciousness. So until we get to that place inside of ourselves where we can talk to that witness or source, I think the mirror is wonderful. The conversation is with yourself. The conversation is none other than you. So then eventually you internalize that very conversation and you connect to that truth that is there. So each and every one of us, every day, from the time we wake up, throughout the day, till we go to sleep, must have these conversations, must have these adjustments, must have these movements that must take place. I often talk and share that I must become aware. I must become subtle. I must feel what is going on around. And so if each and every one of us, as we meditate, we first of all become sensitive, is how we become aware. Sensitive firstly to my own self, to my own being, and then slowly sensitive to my own surrounding. You could even call it heightened awareness. Because to me, that's what I feel we do when we sit and we meditate. We basically get rid of that which we don't need, that which is not necessary. I heard a monk give a short talk. He says, we buy things we don't need with money we don't have to please people we don't like. We buy things we don't need with money we don't have to please people we don't like. So when you become aware and conscious that this is what I am doing, this is how my life is. And then, just like you laughed now, the possibility to laugh at yourself in that moment. So when I think of what does meditation do? Meditation allows me the awareness to catch myself in my own issues and problems a little bit faster the next time. I catch myself this time, but the next time a situation arises, a similar situation, because often we'll find that life repeats itself. We find ourselves, the way I tell people is that they're like a hamster, just going round and round and round, but really going where? And what to me, I think the teaching does, it all of a sudden tells you there is a goal, there is a destination. Life has a purpose, life has a meaning. Don't just go round and round and round and get nowhere. Get somewhere. And what is that somewhere is what each and every one of us needs to determine decide, find. So in our tradition, we have kirtan like we did yesterday. We have meditation, which I believe everyone all over the world does and must do, needs to do. There is, in your tradition, the headphones, which we would call mantra, sound, nada, which we need to begin to hear within ourselves. There is the physical activity, work, karma, action that needs to be performed so that life and society keeps moving. And much else that each one of us does. But yet at the same time, the difference in the non-meditator and the meditator is the non-meditator just acts. And there is no awareness in his or her actions. There is no thinking through. Whereas a meditator now, through that heightened awareness, becomes aware of what is the purpose of my action. And then at the same time, a sense of detachment, of freedom. So in the Indian tradition, we talk about a swan. A swan is simply sitting in water, and yet it's swimming at the same time. We don't see any mobility, we don't see any movement, yet we see it gliding through water. So when we think that I could become like this in life, simply glide, and there is no ripples in my movement. A story often shared, Divyani laughs at me when I share this story. Baba Muktananda loved cooking. He arrives in the kitchen, and there's a man with a small piece of cucumber left. And Muktananda looks at him and says, "How many pieces or how many slices?" The man looks at the cucumber, looks at Muktananda and thinks, "How do I know how many slices of this cucumber?" Because he's just, mindlessly chopping. And say he wants you to be aware as you're chopping. So Muktananda looks at him and says, 30 slices. And Muktananda takes the knife and slices the cucumber. Puts the knife down and tells the man, "Now count." The man counts. It's 27. Now he wonders, should I lie? Because now, everybody's watching. And so does the master, become false? Or do I tell the truth? So in that moment of awareness, he thinks to himself, truth is safe. So he tells the truth, 27. Muktananda tells him, turn the knife over, and that's where the other 3 slices are. So when we think of what is heightened awareness, what is, living life like that. And I believe when I hear these stories that this is not something he could do or they could do or these are miracles. But it's like life lived with a purpose, life lived with an intent, life lived with that. Where are you going? And so I would personalize this to you. Synchronicity today, this place where we are. The man who had the vision, the man who had the idea, as I shared yesterday, sowed the seeds in each and every one of us. And here we are today, almost 2 3/4 years later, gathered here in this very space, while reminiscing all of that which happened in the years, is that thought What do I do with the fruit I have received? So I have to cut it open, take the seed, and now plant it. Plant it further. That becomes, I believe, the responsibility of every individual. I can't sit here and say 39 years ago, Baba Muktananda left his form and I'm still sad. Yes, whoever we love in life, we love them and we will always love them. But yet, at the same time, we must think of what would make them proud is that we keep moving forward ahead with that principle, with that teaching, with that technique, with the tools that were given to us and how each one of us develops that. So, we'll always be nurtured. That grace is forever present in our life. And the way I share it is that just like the sun, sometimes covered by the clouds, might look like the sun has disappeared. S-U-N, sun, right? Covered by the clouds has disappeared, but actually has not. As soon as the clouds move away, there is the sun. So, the grace is ever present. Sometimes my mind gets cloudy. Sometimes I disconnect myself from source. And so I think to myself, what has happened? Where is that grace? Where is that? But as soon as my mind, the purpose of meditation is to keep my mind, my senses clear. So when I think of daily practice, what is that daily practice? The daily practice is like taking Windex and cleaning the glass so that you can see through. There's a little funny joke when I just said this, I remember that a young couple sit every day at breakfast. A young couple sit every day at breakfast. And from the window, they see the other young wife who hangs her laundry out. And this young couple, this young woman, always tells her husband that she never washes her laundry properly. And the husband hears this for days, and days go by. And one day, the wife goes, she's finally washed her laundry well. And the husband looks at her and he says, I cleaned our windows. I took the Windex, I took the paper towel. She's always been washing her laundry well. It's our window that was dirty. So, I think of this, I ponder over this. We say, he's like that, she's like that, they are like that. And then I think, I'm a meditator. I'm supposed to see that one consciousness everywhere. I do, except in these people. Somehow consciousness missed them. And therefore I can't see the consciousness there. And we don't ever think to ourselves that I have an issue with them. I have a personal issue with them. What is my issue? Oftentimes I don't even know it because I'm so involved in my own issue that I don't see it. And just like all of you dialogue here, I, over the years, have dialogued this with Devyani and I've had a lot of fun with her. Because she always tells me we have to see consciousness everywhere. And I tell her it's not possible to see it in some people. I said, I'm sure. And she's like, no, we have to have equal vision. And I said, yes, we have equal vision, except for, you name the few, and you say, these I don't think we can, because they don't get it. And because we've heard this teaching over and over and over again, and we know within ourselves, the truth is that there is one consciousness which dwells within each and every one, whether they are good or whether they are evil. But yet, because my window is fogged up, or because my vision is cloudy, as Baba Nityananda would say, I have cataracts in my eyes which need to be removed so I can see how it is. And all of this, in my mind, is a daily process, is a constant process. And why you have to meditate every single day is so that every single day I can deal with myself. I can deal with what is going on in my own world. And I believe just as much in our society today, conversations are important. The understanding we have to come to is that the Master appears in all of these various forms to tell us what we need to hear. And that openness in my own mind, in my own senses, has to be there. I have to begin to realize that all of that which is provided for me is for my own upliftment. And I think a true seeker comes to believe this. It's not just somebody who's sitting on the pedestal who's my master, but I am able to see the master in all of these various forms. Not easy. I agree with that. Because sometimes what we hear from someone who I think in the core and depth of their being truly loves us, but we have already caused or created a judgment for or against them. And so accordingly, we hear. Again, we would hear a story, just like we are sitting here, and the teacher tells them that there is that one consciousness everywhere. And he actually imparts to them this understanding. So one of the students, he goes out, and just like I heard yesterday that you have a bear here. It's been seen. So somebody like Jim, who's seen the bear, tells you don't go that way because that's where the bear lives. And you say, no, the master told me today it's all one consciousness. The source is in me, the source is in the bear, the source is in everyone. And he goes that way and the bear attacks him, and then Jim and the people go and bring him back. When he comes to consciousness, he looks at the master, he says, you lied. You told me consciousness or source is everywhere. And I took that teaching and I went. But the bear didn't see the source, didn't see the consciousness. Look at what it did to me. And the master simply says one simple statement. Why didn't you see consciousness or the source in Jim when he told you not to go that way? A very simple teaching in this moment is we twist so that it benefits my own ego rather than the truth. And so many of us, in so many different ways, deal with this. And so, when I become aware, when my awareness is heightened, then even a small signal in consciousness makes me aware, makes me realize. And that is, to me, where we want to come to. Teachings have existed, teachings will exist, teachings will be there in the future, because that's part of creation. It's not discovered by anyone. It's just how each one of us expresses it. And I think what is wonderful and beautiful is there are no two expressions alike. You know, you have good hair days and you have bad hair days. I don't have that problem, but I hear that, you know. I have a cap day and off cap day, but other than that, it's easy. But you could see, you know, Master Charles sometimes playing with his hair and this, you know. We all have should we say fetishes, you know, what we, silly body, you know. I don't know how many of you actually spent personal time with him and really enjoyed the human, the man. And we often forget that because we get caught in this aura of wow. And we forget that there is the human. And every master has that. Every being has that. Each one of us has that. We have the human in us and we have the sublime in us. And truthfully, in my years of experience, they are not different. But because in our mind we think, oh my God. Oftentimes when Baba Muktananda felt sick, people would be like, but how can he fall sick? Well, he has the same human body. And that human body sometimes has its issues. Or sometimes he would fart. He was Indian, you know. And they'll be like, he's the guru. Well, he ate beans. And you know what beans does or do. But in our so-called convoluted spiritual ideas, you know, I mean, I tell people I was very fortunate that I started this at a very, you know, baby age. And so you could see the truth of all of the situations of all those people who were like, holy. And we were young and, you know, it's like you could see through all of that. And one of the works that we did in the ashram was cleaning the meditation room. And sometimes we were told to take someone to the meditation room to give them a seat to meditate. So while we spent those few minutes taking someone to seat them, we would observe the adults meditating. And so as we cleaned the meditation room, we took the liberty of imitating the meditators. Of course, we had to be very careful that we were not reported back and that none of us amongst us reported, you know, someone back, but it didn't matter anyway because we thought it was just so much fun to just, of course, we were 10, 12 years old. So, and just over the years to think of that, you know, when people come and go, oh my God. Whatever it is that they would say, and to realize that why do we do this? Yes, that whole experience is just magical. I don't deny that. But yet we don't have to make it like that. It can be very real, down to earth. Just as real as how we are in this moment. And so, when I come to that place of awareness, and I see that one consciousness in that way, and to realize that each one of us is so unique, I call it peculiar and special at the same time. That each one of us is quite peculiar in who we are, and each one of us is quite special in who we are. And that makes us unique. I don't think you'll find another Swami Nityananda, maybe the same name, yes, but with this flavor. And therefore I say, therefore Baskin-Robbins has 31 flavors. Because we can't even agree upon the fact that plain vanilla is good. Somebody wants it pink, somebody wants it brown, somebody wants it black, somebody wants it black and white. And then somebody wants 3 flavors in one cone so that they can just keep changing. Because can't even decide. And I make this into a funny thing by saying, when you offer somebody a cup of tea and you tell them, what would you like? They go, anything. Well, and I say, we don't have anything. And they say, no, whatever you have. And so I, over the years, have realized that when I go to a home and this person says, what would you like? Then I ask them, can you just show me what you have? And from that, I'll tell you what I would like. It makes it easy for that person. Makes it easy for you, because anything means they'll give you anything. And then you'll go, well, this is not what I really wanted. Well, you said anything. So, all I want to say is that let's take the teachings, let's make them alive for us, make them real in my own life, and live them. And I think that if more of us in this world could actually live it and not make a show of it or anything like that, but just in who we are, in what we are, in what we do. And so therefore, when I really think about, I realize that what we've been given is a lifestyle. We've been told, live like this. Not just plug in as and when you want or as when you feel like it, but each and every single day of your life, live like this. And when I realize that, I think it's so wonderful. Because that means my meditation for me has to bear fruit every single day. There is not a single day that goes by where that connection does not take place. Think of this. That when I connect to that source, to that consciousness, that's just such overwhelming joy. There is peace. There is stillness. And I go into life carrying that. So whether you are here in Synchronicity, whether you are at the supermarket, whether you are at home, whether you're at your workplace, whether you're traveling, whatever it is that you are doing, that meditation, that awareness, that connection goes with you. And when somebody looks at you, smile, because they recognize that connection. They recognize that spark. And so when you smile, it allows them to also smile. I often share that in New York City, when you hold the door open for someone, they look at you surprised. What's wrong with you? Why are you being nice? What do you want? It is simply savor, service, action. That somebody's just, a few inches away and there is no harm in just allowing that moment of kindness, of compassion, of love. Because we think, again, we have a funny idea of what kindness and compassion and love means. Well, that's that in that moment. Just use that understanding. At the ashram in India, we have little children ranging from the ages of just born to 8-10 years old. And we have gravel. So sometimes while running, they fall down. And of course, as a child is wont to do, he or she begins to cry. And normally you can pick them up and pamper them and say, oh, poor thing, oh, what happened? So if I am there, I look at them and I say, hey, look, you broke the stone. And he looks at me, looks at his little scrape on his knee, and he looks at the stone. I said, who's going to pay for that stone? Who's going to fix that stone? And he looks at me and gives me a smile. Because all of a sudden he realizes, oh my God, I've broken the stone. The stone was broken. But in his mind, just because he fell, the stone broke. And he stops crying. He starts to smile. Because all of a sudden in his whole consciousness, in his whole awareness, he realizes it was nothing. He fell, yes. He scraped himself, yes. But what happens often, I find in life, we sometimes get caught in that little drama, in that little game. So we start at that age of 2, 3, 4 years old, and we realize the world pays attention when I make noise. So as I get older, I get better with my drama. And we learn when I should cry so I get attention. And if from our childhood we have realized that there is no need for this, meditation will have a faster and better effect upon us because we'll have become free of our own dramas from so early on. We will have become free of our hamster-like life, going round and round with no destination, with no, ability not to be able to decide what do I want to do. So when we think the potential exists within each and every one of us to make that decision now. The clarity exists, but because I'm so used to not deciding, I'm so used to all of the dramas and the games that I do in life. So when you sit, when you meditate, all you're doing is taking that Windex, that paper towel, and cleaning the dirt, the fog, all of that, and just becoming clear within yourself, where is it that I'm going? And life is just so wonderful when we take it from that viewpoint. I read somewhere that Master Charles liked clowns. And it reminded me of a Swamiji I met some years ago, an elderly monk in India. And he said something similar to what Master Charles says, that we are all in a drama. We are all playing our role. And he said, all we have to learn to do is fun, accept that we are playing that role. Have fun with it. Enjoy it. But at the same time, don't get caught. And what happens to each and every one of us is I get caught in my particular role, in the particular identity that I have created, in who I think I am. And the world expects that from us. If you have somebody who makes them laugh, they expect that when you come, you'll make them laugh. If you're a musician, they expect that when you come, you'll be doing something musical. Whatever it is that, each one of us does. It's the identity that I remember once traveling here with Swami Brahmananji Mahamanleshwar, whose picture you have in the dining hall. We were visiting a family here in Pennsylvania. We arrived. They fed us lunch. And after lunch, we were just sitting. We were having a few moments of relaxation. And the host said to him, Swamiji, you have come from so far, teach us Vedanta now. And all of us who were traveling together looked at each other. That's not what you want after lunch. After lunch, you just want a few moments of just But the host felt that Swamiji had come from all the way from Mumbai. I have given you lunch. Now in exchange for lunch, give me some teachings. Maharaji was an elderly monk. He was very kind. He spoke for 15-20 minutes. But yet, in my own mind, as I think of such situation, I think of how funny we are. That we think a teaching is when the master actually speaks, the master actually says. But you could just be with him. Be in that presence. Be in that energy. In that, there is so much teaching. And I think the truth is that it's the same for each and every one of us. That connected to that source of consciousness, each one of us can radiate that from our being. So, meditate every day. Sit and enjoy your own company. And then as you go around meeting whoever it is that you meet, share that with them. And I think Mark, we saw yesterday the podcasting room. And I think he said that Jim is doing the contemplations. Muktu is doing something. All of you who are here, and whatever it is that you are contributing, all you are doing is taking that seed that has blossomed into the tree over the years, that now has little blossoms, which will become more fruits, which will have seeds. And through that, this medium, the microphone, the camera, we're trying our best way to share that forward. I often think of it as a relay race. We must hand that baton forward. We must hand that flame forward. We must hand that teaching forward. So it continues. It cannot end. It cannot stop. It cannot finish. Whatever it is that I have received, whatever it is that I have experienced, whatever it is that I have felt, I must share with my family, with my friends, with my co-workers. And again, I make it clear, not in a weird way. And that's important, because sometimes we make it so weird that the other person goes, nah, I just want to be a normal human being. A sociology professor is sitting here, and it's a challenge. How do I take this? How do I go out into society? How do I present this mystery, this secret to a normal human being and tell him, look, you can just be who you are. Meditate. Just sit. So what I've shared over the years with people is find a couch, your favorite couch, and just sit. 15 minutes, 30 minutes, just no gadgets, no books, no teachings, no techniques, nothing, just sit. Watch your breath, watch your thoughts, watch what is going on. Connect to that truth that is there in you. And sometimes you'll hear people go, that's all I have to do. I say, well, start there. Because just to sit for 15 to 30 minutes quietly, our society today has an attention issue. Because something will go ding and we want to go, do I? Do I not? Do I? Do I not? That's why I tell people, leave it in the other room so the ding is a little bit far away. And whoever created that has created that so that again and again we go back to that. And sometimes we look at it and we go, oh, it's nothing. But that nothing has already started a seed in my mind. And 7 minutes ago, I was peaceful. I was quiet. I was enjoying the sound of the rain, the sound of the wind, or just the quiet. the sound of my breath. And now all of a sudden I have this thought modification floating in my mind. So each day, every day, we want to find a period of time. And if it is the same time, excellent. Because we are actually creatures of habit. And so if the mind realizes that this is the moment to just be still. Imagine that so many of us, from all different traditions, from all around the world, become beacons of peace, beacons of stillness, beacons of joy. And to me, the world needs this in the most palpable way possible, in the most real way, genuine, that tenderness. When I think of any master from any tradition, from anywhere in the world, when I think, what is it that that being gave? What is it that that being would like us to give? And what we hear often here in the US is TLC, tender, loving care. Each one of us has that potential to offer tender, loving care. Firstly, to oneself. And I always say that that's important because I must replenish my own source. And that source actually is infinite. There's lots there. And then share that out there. So find that inside your being. That's when you know your meditation has borne fruit for you. It's not just a technique. It's not something you do when you sit on your chair, on your sofa, in your space, but something that's alive. Every pore, every cell, every part of your being reverberates that you are scintillating. The scriptures talk about that as you connect within your own being, you'll find the openings that will take place. All of that which you look for outside, you'll find it inside yourself. And so to each one of us, let's connect. Let's go there. So we'll turn the lights off. We'll chant the mantra Om Namah Shivaya. I offer salutations to that divinity that dwells within each and every one of us. Take your glasses off. Allow yourself to relax completely from head to toe. Your entire being should feel that relaxation. Allow yourself to feel the energy that flows through you. As you close your eyes, don't try to hold them shut. Just let the eyelids drop Let the face relax, let the neck relax, chest, stomach, thighs, legs, toes, fingers, arms, hands, shoulders, all parts of yourself. Just breathe in, expand the awareness, exhale, let go. Just bring yourself to that space. We are so fortunate that this room that we are in, since the first time I've been here, that's all that has been done here. The raising of awareness, the raising of one's own purpose and intention through the process of meditation. And so we can imagine the vibrations in this room since the mid-80s to here we are today in 2021. How many different meditators have come through here, become aware of their potential in life, of who they are, of what they are, and where each one of us can go with this awareness, with this understanding. How we can take this potential with us into society and lovingly, with kindness, with compassion, with understanding, share this awareness, share this wisdom, share the source, share the connection. It's just so, so wonderful to see another human being, another individual realize their potential, awaken to that truth that dwells within their own being. So for a few moments, we'll do the mantra Om Namah Shivaya in call and response. And when we stop, I would say just indulge in that quiet. Feel the stillness within your own being. We'll sing the mantra. Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Sadgurnath Maharaj ki jai. Thank you all for a wonderful morning. Just allow yourself each day, every day, to feel this emotion, this feeling, this wonderful energy that is there within each and in every one of us, to experience and taste it daily, to share it as much as possible. That is really what each and every one of us can do. See you this afternoon.